Today I want to show you one of the most fastest strategies on Die Maschine to get to a high round. And it's not just one of the fastest strategies, it's also one of the more effective ones to level up your guns and unlock attachments and camos. So let's get into the setup right away. So for this strat, obviously you need everything on tier 5, and I would recommend using either Toxic Growth, which is my personal favorite for this strategy, or any other strategy that involves camping. You'll see why. The second one you can use is Ring of Fire, which is basically equally effective to Toxic Growth, but I'd say Toxic Growth is still a little bit better, but it's really a choice of favor. You could also use Tesla Storm. I found it to be very effective in co-op and solo, not so much. But if you like more of a challenge, then you should try Tesla Storm. Now, in terms of guns and which ones you should run, it's really up to you. Like I said before, this strategy is really good for leveling up your weapons, so you could really just run any. Of course, a sniper rifle wouldn't perform as good as an assault rifle or shotgun in this case. If you want something effective, just use a street sweeper or some other shotgun. I am running the Vargo SMG just to level it up with this strategy, and Toxic Growth because I said it's the best in this strategy. Every time I load into a zombies map on Cold War, I always run to Rampage Inducer immediately and turn it on. If you don't know what that is, essentially the Rampage Inducer speeds up all the zombies and the spawns for every zombie up until round 55. This is very effective when going for high rounds because you'll just have a massive speed boost. This, however, I would watch out because super sprinters will spawn once you have this on, so I recommend it only to the more advanced players, not for beginners. For beginners, I would really advise just to play without it. And as you all know, probably from all past maps and future maps, you have to get set up for every high round strategy in-game. But keep in mind that your goal is to reach a high round very, very fast, and you can only do that by killing zombies. So your priority should always be kill zombies as fast and as much as possible. So the way that I always do it, I stand in the spar room for like 5 or 6 rounds, and then I buy the first door and just stand on the staircase with one Toxic Growth in front of you, and you'll notice how, if you have it on tier 5, you'll notice how effective a Toxic Growth is on tier 5, because if you have a bush in front of you basically and you watch out and shoot the zombies simultaneously, then you won't get touched. And it's just massive and way OP, and you can have 3 charges in total, which is really good. So always keep that in mind, and maybe don't focus on setting up a lot. As you can see in my gameplay, I always stand in the spawn room for at least 10 rounds or something like that, or in the spawn area kind of, and then go on to do the extra objectives and setup. I always get set up when I notice that my guns get too weak and I can't kill zombies anymore and I need to pack-a-punch it, or if I'm sure that I have enough points to get me set up, or if simply I am at like round 20 and I simply cannot survive any longer without this equipment. So this now is very important when you turn on the power and go into Dark Ether. As you can see in the gameplay, I'm making my way up to Nacht der Untoten, and there's a reason for that, because in the Dark Ether, if you don't know, the Wonder Fizz spawns, and you can buy all your perks that you can't get by the machine, the perk machine, and get them on early, because the Wonder Fizz will always spawn 10 rounds after you have activated Pack-a-Punch. So once you've activated Pack-a-Punch, you can slowly start to Pack-a-Punch your guns and get perks and upgrade things like armor and weapon rarity. And now let's get to the camp spot. So the camp spot is right beside Speed Cola, and you have to make sure that the door is open, and you can do that if you're in the Dark Ether and just use the portal once on either side, downstairs or upstairs, and then the spot will be open. So now I'm going to show you how the strategy is going to work with Toxic Growth. Basically, you can have any gun you want into the early rounds. It doesn't really matter since the damage output is really high with headshot multiplier and that shot on tier 5. So basically you're gonna stand in this room and just place as many Toxic Growth as you need in front of you. I always just need 1 or 2, but you'll be at maximum charge almost all the time, and you'll notice that. And now you can see why I meant that this is good for ranking up weapons, because as you can see, I'm just using the Vargo basically, and the Toxic Growth bush just acts kind of a safety leverage for when the zombies get too close to me. So the next things that you will need are of course the ray gun and the Die Shockwave. I would also recommend to get the Die Electric upgrade, and you'll see why in a second, but of course first off, the Megaton is vulnerable to lightning and just does more damage than the normal Die would. I would recommend to get the ray gun out of the box. Just don't even bother with challenges because it just takes up a little bit of time. Just hit the box onwards from round 30 and you should get it in the first few hits. If you don't know how to get the die or the electric upgrade, just look guide up on YouTube. It's fairly easy, and I would recommend turning the Rampage Inducer down from this if you're not confident enough that you will survive it. One of the reasons why you should be always running the electric die is, as you can see in the gameplay, I don't know if this is on purpose or if it's a glitch. It's been in the game for I don't know how long. Basically, if you have the electric die and you shoot it and you're sprinting, you sprint super fast. Like nothing can outrun you. It's basically really broken, and it just helps to get around the map really fast, and it can save you in some really sticky situations. When you get into the higher rounds, you should always look at your salvage and you have enough, because score streaks and equipment help you so much. And as you can see in the gameplay, you can just bypass that door, and with the electric die you can just basically speed up to the crafting table and speed down in basically 15 seconds. What I always buy are Casimir devices, Semtex or Molotovs. They work great in that spot. For score streaks I always run death machines, flamethrowers, and sometimes our CXDs. They're effective too. And another thing that I noticed, in game you can switch your field upgrades, and as you can see in the gameplay right here, I placed my 2 bushes before changing to Ring of Fire. So the bushes will stay in place until they're depleted, and they only deplete once they killed enough zombies and they actually disappear. So you can basically run 2 field upgrades, or 3 even at the same time, if you do it right. So now that you're in the spot, you're basically invincible. You can always rely on your ray gun or Casimir devices, and if you really cannot get your field upgrade full without using a score streak or anything, it's fine, because with Death Perception tier 5 you should have more than enough salvage and you'll never run out. You can basically buy a flamethrower or death machine every round, and that will get you through the round and you'll never run out of salvage. And always keep in mind that right behind you have an ether portal, so if you get cornered you can just always escape through that. I would recommend to keep the Rampage Inducer on up until round 55, and then the Super Sprinters will spawn and the Rampage Inducer will turn off, but that way you can ensure that you took the most out of the zombie spawns in terms of speed. But that's basically it for the strategy. Like I said, I would recommend using Toxic Growth. Always remember to buy score streaks and you should be fine, and if you stay in the spot you really should be good. And if a Megaton spawns, you can always just pop your ring, or if you have Toxic Growth, just place 3 bushes in front of you, or as much as you can. Use your score streaks, and use the electric die definitely on the Megatons, because it just deals a ton of damage. And do not forget the speed boost with the die as well. But that has basically been it. I hope I helped you guys a little bit, and I'll just let the gameplay run a little bit so you can see how the strategy actually plays out. I'm just gonna let the next few rounds play out, and I hope you all have nice holidays. See ya.